The Edgar Cayce Handbook for Creating Your Future. The world's leading Cayce authorities give you the practical tools for making profound changes in your life. By Mark Thurston and Christopher Fazel. Introduction. The story of Edgar Cayce's life is exceptional in its simplicity. His strongest motives were caring about people and wanting to help. Out of that impulse came remarkable abilities, talents that were destined to make him more famous decades after his death than when he was in his own time. At the age of 21, this gentle, unassuming man discovered by accident that he could intuitively tap sources of knowledge far beyond his 8th grade education. A compassionate person whose central purpose was to serve God, he used his unusual gift to assist troubled people for more than 40 years. Putting himself into a sleep-like trance, he could answer questions with wisdom and precision, questions from those who suffered physically and had almost given up hope, questions from those who longed to understand themselves and find their way in life. His discourses and answers, given from the altered state of consciousness, were stenographically logged and came to be called readings. Some 14,145 of them were recorded between 1901 and 1944. Upon his death in 1945, Cayce probably little realized the roles he had played. Pioneer of the holistic health field, reinterpreter of metaphysical laws for our 20th century Judeo-Christian culture, forerunner of transpersonal psychology and the consciousness movement. Edgar Cayce is a distinctly American phenomenon. Certainly he had a universal perspective, honoring deeply all the great religious traditions, and he was something of an internationalist in his concern for people worldwide. Yet the flavor of his biography, and even the tone of his philosophy and psychology, were unmistakably rooted in 20th century America. The fact is very important. Those who have taken up the ideas and worked with them. Admittedly, the aim of spirituality in our country has been enhanced by teachings originating from Europe and the East. But many people resonate most clearly to a homegrown product. The Cayce readings offer an esoteric system that combines far-reaching concepts about spiritual realities with down-to-earth pragmatism. The extraordinary teachings in Cayce's material are noteworthy for their practicality and balance. Rather than get us lost in abstract speculation, they bring us back to the here and the now. Life itself, they affirm, is our opportunity to fulfill our potential, physically, mentally, and spiritually. No need to run off to a monastery on the other side of the world. No need to push oneself out of the body and into higher dimensions in order to find God. The spirit is alive in the midst of daily living, if only we'll recognize it. That's practical spirituality, and it's fundamental to the many ideas that came through this unusual man. Balance is just as important a principle, especially the balance between self-help psychology and the intervention of divine grace. The Cayce readings, like the precepts of the Buddha and psychiatrist Carl Jung, show a deep appreciation for the middle way, the equilibrium point between extremes. Individual growth and development may be realized through a harmonious interplay of personal effort on the one hand and surrender to a higher power on the other. In essence, the Cayce philosophy paradoxically promises two things. First, that you create your future. You are an extraordinary being with powers to shape your life. Second, your future can create you. Your life has a destiny that draws you toward it. Each one of us, in other words, has the opportunity to be a co-creator with God. This book is a guide to co-creativity. In specific ways, it teaches us how to use 24 open secrets that reveal the mysteries of living. It may sound like a contradiction to describe a secret as open and available, but the 24 spiritual principles that form the chapters of this handbook are secrets only in the sense that they are the keys to unlock the doors of understanding. They are evident to anyone who is willing and able to look closely at life, who can honestly and objectively recognize that the Spirit is right there in our midst, not vacationing in some faraway heaven. For many centuries, these concepts were deliberately shrouded in ritual and mysticism, relegated to so-called esotericism. But times change. Now millions of sincere seekers are ready to make practical use of this ancient knowledge. Even though these 24 principles embody deep, important ideas, we don't have to become somber and overly serious in order to work with them. Thus, this handbook, while pragmatic, is also informal and even fun to use. Each of the brief chapters is filled with true stories from people's lives, inspiring, informative anecdotes that show how these ideas can really work on a practical day-to-day basis. The approach throughout this book is comparative. Examples and illustrations are drawn from many sources, including the Bible, Jungian psychology, mythology, and current events. The point is to show how the Cayce material fits into and complements diverse systems of thought. Any teaching that is universal in its wisdom should lend itself to such parallels. A handbook may also be used as a convenient reference volume. No doubt, as you read through this book for the first time, some of the chapters will touch you right where you live, addressing problems that you currently face. Others may seem interesting or intriguing, but not as relevant to your challenges at the present time. As the months go by, however, you're likely to find yourself drawn to different chapters, suddenly more relevant because of a change in your situation. The ideas in this book can and will work for you, depending on your willingness to try them out. Edgar Cayce founded an organization which he named the Association for Research and Enlightenment, because he believed that we learn and develop through a process of application and testing, and each of his 24 open secrets lends itself to this sort of personal, informal research. To augment the 24 concepts and deepen your ability to work with them, a brief exercise is described at the conclusion of every chapter. This book contains the essence of the spiritual philosophy and the psychology of the Cayce readings. Although it doesn't deal directly with Cayce's holistic concepts of healthcare, it does focus on the mental and spiritual factors that make physical health possible. You'll find only infrequent mention of the many fascinating topics that have made Cayce's name famous. Atlantis, Earth changes, ESP, past lives, and so on. Ancient civilizations, prophecies of change, astounding psychic feats, the mysteries of reincarnation. These are not at the heart of Cayce's material. If someone asks, what's the Cayce legacy really all about? The answer is co-creativity, responsibility, or responsibly shaping one's future with the help from higher forces. Take responsibility for your current situation. Learn the universal principles that govern the game of life, and then make your life into a work of art. If you follow this 3-step process, as you apply the 24 key concepts or ideas presented in this book, you'll become a more creative, productive, joyful citizen of the world. What better future could anyone hope to co-create with God? End of introduction. Next chapter, Part 1, Basic Principles for Creating Your Future.